Hello all. Here we are going to discuss about React.js, and in React.js few things are very important. Okay, if you see, we should understand what is render and what is re-render. And if you see the documentation, they're saying it is just following the three phases. One is triggering, and one is render, and one is commit. Okay, we are happy. We have three stages, but if you just read more documentation, and here they are explaining that some just browser is just doing painting. Okay, fine. And if you just open this lifecycle methods, again here you will see that component did mount. Okay, component did update. Okay, and at the same time, again, if you see use effect is there, another one is use layout effect is there. So sometimes there is really confusion between all these terminology, like what is rendering, what is re-render, what is mounting. Okay, what is the difference between the mounting and render, and what is the difference between the render and commit phase, and what is the difference between the use effect and use layout effect. Okay, in which situation we should go with the use effect, and in which situation we should go with the use layout effect, and when it is going to trigger, that matters, right? And what is a DOM? Okay, what is DOM? What is a virtual DOM? What is a snapshot? And what is a diffing algorithm? What is reconciliation algorithm? Okay, lots of things are there. So if you want to understand all these things, okay, here I'm just trying to explain all these things in one video. Definitely it will take minimum 1 hour to explain all these things. If you really want to understand or learn all these things, just continue this video. Otherwise, thanks for watching at least up to this time. Okay, here if you see, I just created a simple React.js application with the create React app. Okay, nothing, I didn't change anything. It's a completely uh, the thing after doing npx create react app and my app. Okay, whatever the things are there, I didn't change anything. So I just ran the application with npm start, so it is just displaying here. So we can start from the we can try to understand from the beginning. Okay, so if you see, if you want to build a single page application, we should have only one html file. So just observe carefully, where is our html file? One html file. This is our hero, right? Observe carefully, in this html file, in the body, if you observe carefully, it has only one div, that id is root. Apart from that, nothing is there inside the body. Okay, this is already commented, so if you want, you can remove it. Okay, this is not a important thing, you don't need to worry about that. Okay, apart from that, nothing is there. But once you run the application, you are able to see some logo and some information. Okay, because we are creating components and we are giving those components to the react and react dom to render it. Okay, so let's see what is render and what is a component, and all those things we can understand. Okay, so I hope you have at least a basic knowledge about React.js. Otherwise, maybe it's difficult to understand all these things. Okay, fine. Okay, I hope I will try to explain as much as simple. So here we have a HTML file. So React is just, we are using React, okay, or any JavaScript framework. Like most of the JavaScript frameworks are following like component based approach. Suppose if you see, just if you just open Amazon, okay, it's a single page application, and this total UI is split into small components, small pieces, and we can arrange according to our expectation. That's it. So total UI is going to split into small pieces with the help of components, and we can arrange them in a right order according to our expectation. Okay, this is a simple thing. So here, so from where this logo and this information is coming for us? Okay, I hope many of you already know that. Okay, it is coming from index.js and app.js. If you see, index app.js is a component, and index.js, because we are connecting JavaScript to this index.html with the help of index.js. Okay, I hope you know all these things. So here we are creating a component called app component is there. Okay, we have imported that app component into index.js, and we are asking React DOM to create a route and at the same time to render. Okay, so that what is render? We are going to understand all these things. First, let's see how to create a simple component. Okay, here I'm just going to delete everything inside this app.js. It will take some time to enter into the actual topic because some of you don't know the basics. I guess that's why I'm saying. If you know, fantastic. So I'm just removing unnecessary thing. Don't worry about all the other files. Right now, we are not going to focus on any kind of CSS and all those things. Okay, so simply suggest fundamentals, and we need to focus on what is render and what is commit, and all the concepts are useful to build some React application. Okay. This is a simple a function, and you should give a you should start function component name should start with a capital letter. Okay, nothing. So we can create another component so that you will feel happy. So if you see, I'm just creating simple component called counter.js. That's simple, and you can create a function called counter and just return the JSX. Okay, the JSX is nothing but we can add HTML things in a JavaScript file with the help of JSX, like means JavaScript XML. If you want, just go and read the documentation or go and watch another videos. So right now we are just focusing on important things like H1. I'm just putting like a counter. Simple. We have taken one heading and we are export the default and the counter. So we have created one counter because we need to understand the state and we need to understand what is the re-rendering, right? That's why I'm just taking another example. In app.js, we are not going to mention any state kind of thing. So here we are going to add state and effect, okay, and lifecycle methods. So fine. So I'm going to import this counter into app.js file. So if you want import, just try to import here, like import a counter from counter. Okay, it is already suggested the path as well. So just place our okay, our application is ready. Okay, this is enough for us to understand what is thing. So if you see, it is working fine. So we are able to display the counter. Okay, counter in that counter component we have counter. Observe carefully here. Index.html, nothing is there. We have a div, right? Just a plain div that id is root. So if you observe carefully here, this is the original DOM. So whenever you request a application to the server, it is going to return this HTML file for us, and everything we are going to build with the help of React.js, with the help of JavaScript. So this is the DOM. Initially, the DOM is there. So everything is there in JavaScript. Everything is there in JavaScript. So are we have created two components. One is app.js, another one is counter.js, and app.js is the parent and counter is a child for us in this situation. And once you construct the app.js, and what we are doing, we are going to import that app component, and we are giving hand it over to the React DOM. So React DOM is going to take care of that. Okay, now what is happening inside? Observe carefully. Here inside the app, what is there inside the app? We have only one div. Okay, just a simple div. Simple div. And I'll just draw in another paint screen. So this is our component tree. So we have an app component and we have a counter component. That's it. Here we have one simple div. Here we have a div with one h1 tag. So here just mention this is app component and this is counter. Right now we didn't add any state. This one, and counter is a child component to app component. So this is what generated by the React DOM, and this is going to render, right? This is going to just copying. I'm going to explain in detail what is virtual DOM and everything. But once you create that app with the help of React, so final output will be like this. I'm just showing the final output. What will happen? React will take care and React will find out the root from the original DOM and it will create all the component tree and it is going to update the component tree which is generated by the React DOM and React, and it is going to update in the virtual DOM. So but what is happening inside that? Okay, before if we see this, okay, if you observe carefully here also I can show you. Right click, inspect. So initially, so if you want to see in an initial page, go on just to see view page source. Observe carefully here in the page source, this file came from the server. Here if you see, just a div is there inside the body, nothing is there. This is the original file we received from the server, right? And here when you just open this elements and tree, so if you see here in the inside that root you will able to see two divs. Okay, here this is related to the app component and this div is a part of counter and the h1 is under the counter component, right? Observe carefully, this is what we have done. So this is one div and the counter we have another div, inside that we have h1 tag. So this is generated by the JavaScript, and with the help of React and React DOM we are able to attach that to original DOM. So observe carefully here, initially we don't have a app component, we don't have another counter component, also nothing is there here. So JavaScript has done. So how this JavaScript has done inside the browser with the help of React and React DOM library. So that's what we are going to understand. So if you see, whenever, so this is the final output. So we can go back and see what is happening inside. Let's remove this one. So virtual DOM is just exact replica of a original DOM. So here I'm just going to take a reference that DOM means original DOM, virtual DOM means which is under by the React library or React DOM. So here, so virtual DOM initially it will take exact copy, just copy, exact copy. And what we are saying, we are asking to create, a component. Okay, this, it is a function. Observe carefully, this is a function. Okay, whenever you invoke the function, it will create an execution context, it will allocate the memory, and it will execute all the lines inside that, and that's what happening right here. Also same, whenever you just give, this is like invocation, like simple, how you are going to invoke the function, almost it's same. So whenever you call this app like this, it is going to ask React to render it. Okay, render means what is render means? If you see, observe carefully, I will explain here what is render. Here a lot of things are there. Observe carefully, lots of terminology is there. Render is different and commit is different. Okay, commit is different, mounting is different. Okay, and in between trigger and another one is the like a paint. Okay, and use effect. Okay, those things we can understand step by step. First let's see what is a render. What is a render? Observe carefully here, I will try to explain in detail. Suppose this is the component, right? The function counter on, I think this is spelling is correct. And you are returning some JSX. I'm writing some JSX, whatever it is. Reading some JSX. So this is the function. Okay, whenever you do, whenever you have given this instruction to the React, so it is going to invoke this function and it will return that JSX. Okay, object. It will written in the form of object. Okay, it is written in the form of object. Okay, it will hold the properties, it will hold the state, it will hold all the UI. But we are going to um, get an object that is the React element. Okay. So like React element is nothing but it's similar to HTML element, and but React element is just holding extra properties of that particular component like props, states, and all those things. Okay, we can understand uh, why we need state instead of why we need to use state instead of local variables, because inside a function we can declare some variables and we can store some information in that variables also, right? But why we need to have another separate state for us? Okay, that those things also we can discuss. So here whenever you do just render means just it will invoke this one. Okay, indirect, like similar way how the function we are invoking, we are just calling this component. So this component is going to check what is there in the JSX and what is the state and what is the props. According to that, it will create one object. Okay, that is a React element. It refers to that particular React element for that counter. That's it. This is called rendering. This is called rendering. So if you see, observe carefully here, whenever you just invoke the render, that will that that is going to create the UI elements like React elements. That is, one is app is there. Inside that app we have a counter. So that, because whenever you invoke app, in if we have any child components, it's going to check each and every invoke every child component, and it will ready with all the UI. Okay, what it will create the React elements. So now what will happen? Look, React elements, the information is ready, that object is ready for us. So suppose this counter has a relationship with this app component, it is just maintaining the parent and child. So that information is also available in that object. So in that render, first initial render, what will happen? So it will create. So once that once that thing is available, once that is thing is available, and that is thing, that thing is available in the initial render. So in initial render, we no need to compare the previous state and all those things, right? So this is it will generate that one, and it will be update this component app, and another one is counter. Another one is counter. So if you see here, these are the changes. So in initial rendering, observe carefully, it is going to. So this render is completed, and now we need to see the commit phase. Render means just invoking the functions and getting the React elements and just arrange them in a proper structure. That means creating that React DOM properly and just providing those details to the virtual DOM. So virtual DOM is ready with the changes. Now we need to apply these changes, the new changes, because always there is a reconciliation algorithm is there. So what is the job of this reconciliation algorithm? So it will just see the changes and it will commit those changes to the virtual DOM, because initially the changes will be there in the virtual DOM. Those changes need to be updated on the original DOM. Then only we can see that components or just HTML elements into the browser. So fine. So here we got two things. One is app and the counter. So it is going to create that elements, like how you create document or create element div, and that div dot append child, right? Whatever we know, right, already how to create HTML elements and how to add as a child and how to update into the original DOM. So it will, this commit phase, it is going to do the same thing. So it will take this app component and counter component. So how many components are there? It will just generate that component tree, and it is going to create all the things here. So it will, so we have a app component. So here app and counter is there. So it will create the node for that. So it will create app node, and inside that order already we have the counter there, right? we have a counter. Fine. So here, this is app component. And this is the whatever the things inside that counter. So the div and h1 element, the information for that h1 element is the counter. So this is done. Render and commit is done. So here if you see the phase, this is the render, this is rendering phase, and the committing means whatever the changes you observed in the virtual DOM, we are going to, that committing phase is going to create those nodes in the original DOM and it will update in the original DOM. Okay, I hope you guys understood. This is the commit phase. But what is a mounting phase? What is other thing? Yes, we just slowly we can enter into all the topics. So this is the render and just updating those changes into the original DOM is called committing. Okay, so here this is I'm just putting here text. Right? This is commit phase. So here this is rendering, and once the render completes, the changes are going to be handed over to that reconciliation algorithm. It will create all the nodes in the first phase, and our DOM tree is there. Okay, here what is paint? Observe carefully, because if you see, I will show you a diagram so that we can understand what is paint. The terminology is very important. So paint means once you got, because what this is the original DOM, right? This is the original DOM initially. This is the original DOM. So based on this original DOM, so inside the browser, some software, some logic or some software is there. So we can call him as a painter. We can call him as a painter. So painter. So, so we are, of course, we are inside the browser. That this is the DOM. Right now, it is there inside the browser. It is there in object form. Okay, object form. Object form. So this painter will observe this object and he is going to paint it, draw it, like how painter just draw on the canvas. So he's going to draw it. So he will observe that one HTML, we have a head tag and we have a body tag. Inside that we have one div. Okay, fine, you will just draw one div. Inside that initially nothing is there. This div name is a root. Okay, we will just update those things. So if you just apply some styles for the root div, you can observe that. So initially this is done, this is there. But once you got the HTML file from the server to the client in our machine, so it is just drawn this one. So that is there. You can observe here the view source. Nothing is there, right? In the div, just ID is equal to root. This is paint done. So what is the role of painter? So if you attach, if you just update the original DOM, so if you just add any h1, suppose if you just add a h1 tag with the help of document dot create element and taking the reference of this root div and just append child to that div. So what will happen? This painter always observe is there any changes in this original DOM. So if any changes are there in the original DOM, this painter is going to remove everything. Observe carefully. This is very important. He's going to remove everything on the web page and he's going to draw it again. So what is draw? So you will observe that okay, here we have a div. So we just place a div inside one h1 tag. Suppose if you just give like a hello. So what it will do? You will just take one h1 tag and it will paint that hello. That is the painter job. That is the painter job. Okay, now I hope you guys understood. So whatever, if you just attach app component or whatever it is, if he observed any changes in the original DOM, he's going to remove everything from the browser and he's going to draw it one more time. This is very important point. So now just come back to what we have discussed 2 or 3 minutes before. So initially this is the original DOM, and whenever we executed that JavaScript inside the browser with the help of React and React DOM libraries. So what has done? It has rendered, initial render happened, and then the changes is handed over to the reconciliation algorithm. So this reconciliation algorithm is going to update that commit. So he will just commit means he's going to add, he's going to create all the nodes inside the original DOM. So now what will happen? Whenever you have done the changes to the original DOM, automatically is going to hand over those changes to the painter. Observe carefully. But these you have done the changes. You have done the changes. So now you should hand over those changes to the painter. Of course, we don't need to hand over directly. He will take care. So he will hand this DOM whenever the changes has done to the DOM, the painter automatically comes and he will start painting on the web page. That's what happens. So here, I hope you understand the rendering. Of course, we are going to understand reconciliation algorithm in detail because initial render, maybe you will say that Raghu, it will take a snapshot and it will compare the differences and all those things. Okay, but we can discuss those things in a re-render phase because initial render, okay, it will, of course, it will take those changes and directly update it to the original DOM. And whenever we are going to re-render at the time, it will compare the state or previous state and the current state based on the snapshot and diffing algorithm, everything is there. Okay, fine. So here three things we understand. One is render. Initial render means just invoking the function, getting that React element, okay, and just updating on the virtual DOM. Once it is updated on the virtual DOM, so this reconciliation algorithm will take care of that, update these changes, and it will do commit on the original DOM. Once we have done the changes to the original DOM, it is going to paint on the web page. It is going to update the changes on the web page. Now observe carefully. We'll just taking another screen to understand few more things. So here we can come in this direction. So we have done render, right? First, what happens? Render happened. Second, commit happened. Okay. Otherwise, we can just move this one because before that render, we have trigger stages there, right? So for that, we can take some space. So the commit happened. Commit happened. This commit happened, right? Once the commit is happened, we are saying that it has painted on the web page. So three things happen. One is render, one is commit, another one is painted. So then what is mounted? So we used to say that component did mount, right? What is that mount? When that component did mount happen. So if you see, once the painting has completed, it is going to trigger that component did mount. That means the component, whatever the component we have created, that is updated on the original DOM, that already completed, the painting has completed. So after that, once you completed the painting, immediately the phase is there that component did mount happen. Okay, now so we this is equivalent to, observe carefully, this is equivalent to use effect because in the functional components with the help of hooks we are achieving the same thing, right? Use effect, maybe you can say that Raghu, with a dependency array, empty dependency array, you can observe that. Okay, empty dependency array, that is component did mount. Okay, now observe carefully what is, okay, use layout effect. Layout. So when this is going to execute, so observe carefully, once we have done the changes to the original DOM, it is going to paint, right? It is going to paint. So before painting happen, because after commit and before paint, there is some phase there, right? One phase is there. This phase. In this phase, you can execute, you can invoke this use use layout effect. What is that? Use layout effect. So render commit. Once that commit is happened, it is going to commit means we have done the changes to the original DOM. Once the changes happen to the original DOM, the painter automatically start. It will remove everything on the original DOM. The browser is going to paint again. So before starting the painting, if you want to do anything, you can use layout effect. Once the painting has completed, once everything is drawn on the web page, you want to do something at the time, we should use effect. Okay, in previously with the class based components, we can call it as a componentDidMount. I hope you understand. Right now here, if you observe the first statement here is saying trigger, render and commit. We understand what is render, we understand what is commit, and we understand what is mounting. Right, mounting means the painting. Like the changes happen to the DOM and it has painted on the web page. So that process is called mounting. So mounting has completed means the changes complete the changes what we have done to the React components as committed to the original DOM, and at the same time painting also completed. So once the painting is completed, we can say that okay, our component and everything has mounted. So if you want to see this life cycle method diagram, so that at least we get some idea. You see, this is rendered. Once the render is completed, and it is clearly saying that React updates DOM and reference. Means once the render is completed, those changes will come. It will be commit phase. Observe carefully here. This is rendering phase. Rendering phase means what it is rendered. If you want to, suppose we can come to the updating phase. So it is rendered, and it is going to hand over those changes to the commit phase. Commit phase. In that commit phase, we are going to update the changes to the original DOM. Once the original DOM is updated, it is going to paint on the web page. Even that is completed, then we are going to execute component did mount. Okay, this is called use effect. Of use effect with a dependency array, empty dependency array. Okay, this is what happening in this. So triggering means if you see, triggering means just invoking that function, because we are saying that suppose the function is there, addition. So whenever you invoke that, it is going to start executing, right? It is going to start executing. So here also triggering means just a counter. So whenever the state has updated, again we are going to invoke the re-render. So that because we React will take care of that, invoking that or just triggering that. So triggering the re-render, triggering the render or something. So that is called triggering. Because triggering means you're just asking to render. That's it. Because whenever you call the render method, that is called triggering. Whenever you do any changes to the props and the state, automatically it will re-render, right? So that is called triggering or re-rendering. If you are invoking the re-rendering, that is called trigger. Okay, maybe I just explain here and there. I hope you guys understood. Triggering will happen because once you trigger, then only means we are triggering the rendering. We are just trigger the component, then it will call the render. Once the render is happen, it is going to commit phase. In that commit phase, it will update the original DOM. Once we have done the changes to the original DOM, it is going to paint. Once the painting is done, that is called component did mount or use effect. If you want to do anything before painting, so that is you can do with a use layout effect. So now if you do re-render, what will happen? Re-render, what will happen? Re-render. So here same thing. Re-render means if you do any changes to the props, or whenever you call the set state, set state, right? In a functional component, you can call it a set state, or in in class-based components, whenever you update the state with set counter or set first name or set last name, whatever you can call it the set state, or we can say force update, something is there, right? You just check the diagram. So whenever you give a new props, set state happen, force update happen, or in the hooks we are doing the set state, everything is same. That means you are asking to re-render, because we are saying that we have some changes. If you do some changes to the props, or if you do some changes to the sets, of course props are read only. Once you receive the props to your component, you can't change that. But from parent, you can provide the new information to those props, right? You can pass the new information to the children. In that sense, I'm saying. So if you have done any changes to the props and state, automatically what will happen? What will happen here? Same process. Re-render, re-render, and then okay, I will explain what will happen in the re-render now. So then it will go on commit, and again, what other changes is going to be done to the browser with the help of painter. Painted. Once the painting is done, same thing. Component did update. Okay, now what will happen? What will happen? Because second time, once the component is updated, so we can utilize component did update phase. Did first time we can say mount, but whenever you do changes to the state or something, component did update, and with some conditionally executing use effect with the help of dependency area. Suppose the counter. So if you change the count value, what will happen? It is automatically execute use effect after the painting has completed. Yeah, I hope you guys understood. Use layer effect, the same thing. So it will execute at the same time use layout effect. So now we can understand what is happening with a re-render. Of course, committing phase and painting phase and triggering, initial trigger, React will take care whenever you do React DOM dot render. At the time it will, that means we are triggering to render. Render will do the changes, and those changes will hand over to the reconciliation algorithm. So it will take care of commit, means we are updating the original DOM. So I'm just to repeat multiple times to understand it better. So now we can focus on re-render. So now let's see the here. So if you see, whenever you do any changes to the counter, suppose counter is there, previously the count value is 0. Count value is 0. And now if you do any changes to the state, if you changes to 0 to 1, 0 to 1, 0 to 1, what will happen? What will happen? It will trigger the re-render. That means, so here previously the count was 0. Previously the count was 0, because once it is rendered, the count is 0. The count is 0. Now you observe carefully this virtual DOM. It will exactly replica of original DOM. Let me remove this one. Exact replica of original DOM. So now the count value is 0 only. Okay, this is virtual DOM. Count value is 0 only. So now we are doing set state inside the counter. So the count value will be 1. Now what will be the value? Count value is become 1. So before changing this value in the original DOM, what it will do, so it will take a snapshot. So before updating, it will take a snapshot of virtual DOM. It will take exact snapshot of the original DOM. So see, this is the snapshot. So previously the value of counter is 0, whatever the value of this div or app or anything, exactly it will take from the virtual DOM. So now it will do a changes to this component, this state, this one in the virtual DOM, It's a virtual DOM. So now the value of this counter is will become 1. And you are just displaying that counter value in the h1 element or paragraph element, whatever it is, that is your choice. So it will take that reference of that h1 tag. Like everything is in object form. So in browser it's just there in a object document. Object model means it's object, right? Object with properties and methods. So it will hold that property with the count is 1. So now it will start comparing. So whenever you do changes, it will just add a flag here. So flag, that means it will remember what are the components has changed. So like that we can change the flag. We can just, it will just give a flag. So what it will do, it will start comparing, okay, with the help of keys. And okay, we can discuss these details later, but I hope you understand. So here it will start comparing the changes with the help of diffing algorithm. So this diffing algorithm will just take care of comparison every node. So it will find out the differences. What is the difference here? Only one difference is there, that is for counter. That is, suppose counter, we have used the h1 element, right? H1 element. So it will note down that we have done a only one change to the previous state to the current state, that is this h1 tag. Previously the value is 0 and right now this is 1. So these changes are collected by the diffing algorithm, and these changes are going to hand out to the reconciliation algorithm. What this reconciliation algorithm will do, suppose if you have, right now we have only one counter. Suppose inside the counter you have another child component, inside another child component. So whenever you do any changes to this counter, so automatically it is going to check everything inside that tree. Okay, all the components in that all the children inside that component also, it will start re-rendering. It will check, is there any change in that, in is there any change, and this diffing algorithm will collect all the changes, and this is going to hand over to the reconciliation algorithm. So now again same. So now re-render happen. Re-render means according to your changes, whether it has taken snapshot. After that it will update the original DOM, and it is collect the difference. It is compare all the virtual DOM and the snapshot, and it has find out the differences, and up to that we can say this is re-rendering happened, and we know the differences. So now these differences we need to hand over to the reconciliation algorithm. This reconciliation algorithm is going to update those changes only on the virtual DOM. Yes, it will update the changes on the virtual DOM again. Again, we are going to follow the commit phase. So then what will happen? Suppose right now only one change is there. Suppose if you have done, suppose if you are a big application, maybe at a time you have done changes to the 5 components in one tree of the DOM tree, the virtual DOM tree. So it will collect all the changes, and here the great thing is, suppose if you find here 100 changes. For example, I'm saying 100 changes. So this reconciliation algorithm is going to apply these 100 changes in a single shot at a time, in a one time. It will apply all these things at a time, okay, in the original DOM. So because if you start, suppose if you have 100 changes, so if you do 100 times, if you do changes to the DOM 100 times, what will happen? Okay, it is going to, because observe carefully and understand this thing. If you have done one change to the original DOM, automatically it will remove everything in the web page on the canvas and will start repainting. So if you do in a sequential manner, like one by one, okay. After that, if you give some time, after that, if you do something, what will happen? It is going to do. It is going to paint 100 times. That is a problem, right? So that's why we need a virtual DOM. So virtual DOM, what it will do in that commit phase, it will apply these all 100 changes at a time. Okay, how it is applying all those things at a time, really I don't know. This is handling by the reconciliation algorithm. So if you just, it is open source, right? We can go and dig what they have written inside the reconciliation algorithm, which if you understand that, you can create another, you can come up with another framework. So this is happening. So that's why React is very fast. So it will apply all these 100 changes or one change at a time. At a time. So here what will happen again, once you done changes, even one time, because all these 100 changes into one shot, that means it is going to repaint one time, because it observed that okay, it will that painter will understand that only, it will consider that only one change, it has done only one time. But how that reconciliation algorithm is handling with the DOM all 100 changes, all the changes into one shot, we need to learn that. Okay, if you know, just you can just explain to me, but it is happening in the reconciliation algorithm. So now again repaint. So here it will again remove everything, yes, it will remove everything, and it will start painting again with the new changes. This is what happened. So now come to this point. Here trigger, render, commit, painting, and then component did mount and use effect. Before that use layout effect, right? This is what in the rendering phase. And of course, when in updating phase, what will happen whenever you do changes to the props or set state or the force update, automatically it will trigger the re-render. And in that re-render process, it will flag all the components, what, because whatever the components are affected in that situation, it will flag all those things, and it is going to re-render, means it will check the previous state and current state of those components, and it will find out the differences with the help of diffing algorithm, and it will hand over those differences to the reconciliation algorithm, and thus that reconciliation algorithm is going to update all the changes. So if you have done changes for 100 components or 200 components or 2000 components, doesn't matter, it will apply all those changes in a single shot, because in a committing phase it will just update at a time. So with that, yes, definitely it is going to repaint again, because we have done a changes to the original DOM. That's why in React.js we are not going to touch the original DOM directly. We are not going to do document dot append child or something, right? Document dot get element by id. Okay, we can take a reference, but we are not going to interact with the original DOM directly. So we need to take help of a React DOM. That React DOM will take care of how to update on the original DOM. So this is what happening. I hope you got at least little bit idea about what is the difference between a tech trigger, render, commit, and paint, and component did mount, component did update, use effect, use layout effect. Okay, don't use layout effect every time. So you should know, because if you want to see the layout of your web page, if you want to remember some scroll bar position or something, for that only you can go with the use layout effect. Otherwise you should go with the use effect only. I hope you guys understood little bit, or because after watching all these things, if you went to next level of confusion, sorry for that. I hope I tried my level best to explain in a simplified way. But now just go and read the documentation. So maybe I have explained through this video, you got 1% understanding now, but I'm saying, okay, after understanding, after watching this video, now just go and read this documentation. Okay, definitely you will understand 60 to 70% or 80%. I'm saying okay. So here my goal for this video is to explain what is the difference between the render, commit, and painting, like mounting. Okay, mounted means mounted means painting has done. Okay, we can consider this total phase as mounting phase. Is after committing phase, but once the committing is done, right? Commit phase. This is the mounting phase. Sometimes, like by reading the documentation or watching 15 or 20 videos, sometimes you will get some small confusion. okay, when this mounting phase started. But understand, but up to my understanding, mounted means mounting phase completed means painting has done, then only use effect will trigger, then only component did mount will trigger. Second time after re-render, once the commit phase is done, commitment means updating the changes to the original DOM. Once the changes are done, then it will start painting. Once the painting is done, it will execute component did mount, did update and use effect. And another one is there right here, component will unmount, right? Where is that? Component will unmount. That means, so whenever suppose if you want to remove, suppose if you remove any component, so at the time it is going to remove that from the DOM, right? It is going to remove that from the DOM. Whenever you remove, suppose if you just through that routing or something, okay, if you have removed this from the, suppose if you remove that in this DOM tree, so automatically it will update the changes to the DOM also, right? It will remove from original DOM also. Okay, so then before before painting, before removing from the original DOM, before removing from the original DOM, and whenever you want, okay, component will unmount means whenever you are going to remove this from the original DOM, just before removing from the original DOM. Just remember that point, so that will happen. So maybe you will get confused, right, Prabhu? You said mounted means after completing painting. Okay, will mount, will unmount. Okay, of course unmount means because we are going to delete any HTML element, we are going to delete from the DOM, we are not going to touch the paint, right? Paint done. So once you remove that from a original DOM, automatically it will remove from the browser with the help of a painter. So just before removing from the original DOM, this component will unmount will happen. Okay. Okay, suppose I hope this video is helpful for you up to some extent. And if you found that if I explain something wrong, no problem, just please just add a comment, Raghu, whatever you are explained in this situation, this is wrong. So definitely I will go through the documentation, I will take your comments, and I will read the documentation one more time. Definitely, if that is really wrong, definitely I will learn from that. Okay. So thank you, and if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, okay, you can share with your friends, and we can discuss on this. Okay, thank you, and see you in the next video.